For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Eure here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Tuesday practice of Arizona week. And the Trojans returned to Howard Jones Field in full pads the first time in 2 weeks. So it was a pretty physical, competitive practice. Clay Helton said in his post-practice interview that they take this week very seriously because to get a win at Arizona does a lot for the Pac-12 South and getting back to the Pac-12 championship game. And it looked like they took it pretty serious today.
Yeah, I think they really are getting the feeling that practice really matters, and they got off to a good start today. A guy you give a lot of credit to is Mavai Maupai. He just he sets the tone. He goes after it. He goes hard. He goes quick. I mean, it's like he's kind of taken over the rest of the team that doesn't belong to JT Daniels on offense, and he really got him off to. I loved the way they went after team run today. I loved the way they were, they weren't tackling all the way to the ground, but they were big time thud, I thought. And that was the kind of practice you need and the kind of practice they've got to have, especially when they're in full pads. I mean, they had 4 or 5 guys, not 100%, but I think they went at it as if they were. And I think that sets the tone for a game like Arizona, where you can be Clay said flat out, we're big enough, we're strong enough, we're physical enough. We just got to get it, assignment-wise, get things down. But I thought he put a big endorsement into that offensive line today.
Yeah. As we've heard from players and coaches, it looks like they've almost turned the page. They got to do things right, assignment-wise right against Washington State, and now it's just about doing that again, replicating that at Arizona. And it seems like they realize, like you said, it's at practice, and that's what we heard.
Yeah, and I think practice is what you can carry over, I think, to the road. I mean, this is a team, 18-game win streak. Only Alabama has more at 19, and when you look at all the the top 10 teams in the home game win streak, half of them USC plays, Notre Dame, Texas, Stanford. So it hasn't been that they're playing easy teams in some of these road losses, but they've got to figure out the way that they play with confidence and finish games at home. They've got to be able to take it on the road because right now they haven't created a lot of separation between themselves and somebody like Washington State. You would think it wouldn't have come down to getting a block on basically the last play, to survive that game. So if that's going to be the case, you better be ready to play when you go on the road, because how big a game is this for Arizona? I mean, and the new coaching staff, really big game. And the kid that's having such a great year, J.J. Taylor, another Corona kid. I mean, the Texas's top running back was from Corona. Now you got another Corona kid. How badly do you think they want to play really well against USC?
Yeah. And as far as the offense gelling, it seemed like it took practices in game weeks for Tyler Vaughn's, Michael Pittman, and JT Daniels to really establish that chemistry, which makes you wonder, shouldn't have that chemistry tried to be established a little bit earlier in the season? Yeah,
I mean, it would have been, that was my big second guess, is there wouldn't have been a serious quarterback competition. There would have been an attempt to get your freshman quarterback up to speed for game one. And instead of dividing the reps up, a third, he would have gotten most of the reps. And you'd have tried to have him be on the same page that he was on with Amon-Ra with Tyler Vaughn's and Michael Pittman. We saw the difference Friday night when he's on the same page. Now you got a sense of the trust and the ability to make throws at the end of halves and all of the things that they were able to do. That I asked JT, is that more of a case of you're learning them or they're learning you? And he said he thinks it works both ways. He said both sides of that equation are pretty equal. But what a difference that team looks like when Michael Pittman and Tyler Vaughn's are on the same page as Amon-Ra with JT. So yeah, you would have liked to have seen them get there sooner, especially in a season when you have to go to Stanford week 2 and Texas week 3. Yeah. That might have been my decision would have been probably make sure that happens. Don't worry so much about the quarterback competition because there really was none.
Yeah. It was an offensive day today, and we saw you bounce around from player to coaches. What were some of the highlights of your interviews today?
Well, I think he doesn't take it. You know, he's got 5 rushing touchdowns. He sets the tone in practice, but you can't almost compliment him. I mean, he will tell you it's really about practice and how they really do understand now that they have to kind of just keep working hard and getting better every day. I talked to Brian Ellis, and he talks about what it's like to be dealing with JT. He said, I said, do you still remember that you're dealing with an 18-year-old freshman? He said, not for the last 6 months. He said, you don't even think about him with the throws he can make, the way he communicates, and Clay reiterated this, how he's able to tell them what he's seeing and why he did what he did. And he said, that's just amazing to have a kid who's not rattled, he's enjoying it, he's just having the time of his life doing what he loves to do. But he certainly doesn't seem like an 18-year-old. And when you talk to him, you think you're talking to a coach. I mean, his ability to tell you, he comes up with answers that aren't, they're really well thought out, and they're not necessarily what you think the answer is going to be. He thinks about it, and he gives you an answer that you think, wow, okay, he's really figured this out, and maybe he didn't even have a chance to think about it until you ask him. But his ability on his feet there is just something special.
Mm-hmm. The Trojans were a little banged up in practice today. Jay Tufele did not dress out. He's out with illness, but Helton believes he will be back tomorrow for practice. Porter Gustin was limited/held out for a sore knee, but Helton says it was precautionary. Baelish Jones was limited with a sore elbow. Amon-Ra St. Brown was limited with an AC shoulder sprain. And we did see Chuma Edoga leave practice halfway through. We weren't clear on what happened with that. And then Andrew Voorhees was limited with a sore he actually has a bruised sternum, which is it's an odd injury.
Yeah, so you got him all right. That was good. You didn't notice, I think the one guy you noticed not out there is Amon-Ra. If he's not there, you kind of go, okay, you probably need him to have it look like, the USC passing game. But I thought they went at it hard, without everybody, and good for them.
Mm-hmm. Clay Helton and other coaches were asked, how do you take this confidence on the road? How do you think USC can do that?
I think a lot of it is what happens in practice every day. I mean, I think that's what, and remembering that, the golden era Pete Carroll, they so convinced themselves that what they did in practice against guys that they thought were better than the people they were going to be playing, they so carried that with them that they couldn't wait to get to those road games, because they wanted to shut people up in the stands, and they wanted to show you what they could do. But a lot of that was developed day after day in practice. They just believe, if I can do this in practice against this guy, I'll definitely be able to do it against their guy in the game, and I'm looking forward to being able to do that. So to me, I think that's the biggest part of it. And I think the second part of it is knowing who you are, how you win football games. I still think they're trying to figure that out on both both offense and defense. They're still not, I think Washington State, for example, comes in and who they are and what they're going to do, what their personality is. They know who they are. They know what they need to do and how they got a chance to beat you. I think USC's still in a place where they're trying to figure that out, and that really helps you when you go in on the road, to know who you are, how you're going to win this football game.
Yeah, and as far as practice goes, I know we probably sound like a broken record, but it does make a difference. As we saw today, they brought out the tackling dummies again. Defense got to tackle more, and that's something that we saw break down a little bit in the last 2 games, so it makes a difference.
Yep.
Any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
I think that's what happens if you get a little bit stagnant and maybe you aren't quite as competitive and physical on defense, let's say.
Yeah.
And then you get situations where you've got guys with open field shots at, short wide receivers or quarterback scrambling, and you miss. And you realize, wow, we probably haven't, hit a guy on the move in the open field in 4 weeks in practice. Well, it's really hard to do that on the spur of the moment. So, whatever you can do, and they, put those dummies behind or in tires, and they drag them along the field. Not quite as high tech as like Dartmouth, where they're like robots, and they just kind of, you can program them to go wherever you want them to go. But at least, they're moving in that direction. So I think that's a good thing. They need to be able to tackle in space against a moving target, and so they did a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's going to wrap it up for Tuesday practice. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Eure. For more, check out uscfootball.com.